Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. With 9.2 on the horizons and 9.1.5 under our belts, I felt it was necessary for me to make a top 5 list of what I think are the hardest bosses in Mythic Plus, since we're going to be seeing the same dungeons for the next year probably. And I also wanted to steer clear of making all these healer guides just yet, because I've seen quite a few YouTubers make them already, and those healers have been completely changed. So I don't really think that chasing those views and subscribers is really worth putting out misinformation. So I thought, let's make a fun video, and that's what we're going to do today. But before we jump into it, I want to let you know that at 500 subscribers, I'll be doing a 12-hour live stream with you guys where I'll play WoW. I'll play with you guys. I'll raid with your guilds. I'll do whatever you guys want me to do. So let's get to 500 subscribers, and then let's double that at 1,000 subscribers for a 24-hour live stream. I also have a video that I'm doing with Boante. It's a collab, and we're doing a series for Zero to Hero, and that's a ton of fun, so go check that out. So yeah, let's jump into it. So first off, I want to say that this is going to be assuming that you're doing higher level keys, especially where the damage starts to really challenge your item level and stat level, as well as skill level. Some of the fights on this list will challenge your ability to keep the group up as a whole, while others will challenge your single to 2 target healing. Almost any boss could have made this list, other than a few free bosses, which I'll get into for the top 5 easiest bosses to heal. But let me know down in the comments what you think the 5 hardest bosses are. At number 5, I'm going to have to put Mistcaller from Mistweaver Scythe. This fight can be made or broken off of affixes. I'm sure we've all wiped 2 explosives during her clones before, but honestly this fight in itself is just annoying. Dodgeball is kind of a non-factor of a mechanic, as you just have to do the most minor of a sidestep, but she can do a lot of damage when she summons her clones, and you really have to pay attention to the fox or else it can cause a wipe. Honestly, this boss is pretty easy, but some affixes just feel like entire new mechanics to this boss fight, and they can really snowball her easy mechanics like the fox into harder mechanics by pulling your attention away from them. Any healer can do well versus this boss, but resto druids and monks being able to root or incap the fox, as well as their hots, lining up well with the dot damage during clones is pretty nice. Not to mention during explosive weeks, Moonfire for druids and Crackling Jade Lightning for monks are great options for explosives. Number 4 on this list, I'm going to put Dealer Zaixa from the other side. On tyrannical weeks, this boss can do some big damage. The Chain Lightning can scale up in damage and can really chunk you or your DPS, and even surprise your tank with a lot of damage, so it's kind of on you to heal that. Also, the bombs can still knock everyone down quite a bit, and if you aren't on top of the healing, it's easy to fall behind on this fight. I would recommend Holy Priests or Mistweavers for this fight if you want to make it a little easier. Having a Mistweaver can kind of clutter melee and make traps a mess, but that's a minor drawback when compared to the ease that their healing comes. Their hots line up well versus damage, and their ability to swap between single and multi-target healing is very nice here, as well as revival and being a great panic button for this fight. Holy Priests fit the same bill, but are ranged, so that small drawback is actually negated. Number 3 on this list is going to be Spires of Ascension's Ventinax. Before I get into this one, I just want to say, I know a lot of you are probably wondering at this point why some bosses aren't in this top 5, but this is just my opinion, and I think, the higher the key goes, the harder these bosses get. So, yeah, so let's get into Ventinax, number 3. Man, this fight's annoying. I'm sure we all know that. It has a single target healer check of a dot, so that can be hard on some classes like Disc Priests that don't really have good single target healing. But that's not even the reason this boss made it on the list. We've all been in situations where a party member got hit by an orb, and then you get hit by an orb trying to cast to heal them, then all of a sudden you're both low, and when you land on the ground you get hit by another orb and die. For this annoying mechanic alone, this boss lands on the number 3 spot. That mechanic is so annoying, especially for healers, because we have to cast to heal, and yeah. So I'd recommend bringing a Resto Druid, as they aren't challenged by that dot at all. They just apply their hots to that target, and they normally won't get caught up casting, and can just let their hots top those scenarios up where one person gets hit. Or I'd bring a Resto Shaman since they have Healing Surge, which is such a potent single target heal and can really bring people back up to full health in an instant. And their damage can end this horrible fight much quicker. Number 2 is where we're going to get into this little Sanguine Depths gauntlet. I'm actually going to put Crixus the Voracious at number 2. This fight has one mechanic that is very tough on healers, and that is a big AoE healing check. Severing Smash does an initial AoE hit, and then every party will spawn an orb that you have to collect before they move into the boss, or else it'll heal for 12% per orb. Although you could technically control when this damage comes off by controlling when the orbs are collected, it isn't ideal to make every player run super far away, and not be doing damage while that far away, just in order to buy more time to pop the orbs. For this reason, you normally have to heal a ton of AoE damage in the span of just a few seconds. That can really challenge a lot of healers, and you have to be ready for it. Ways to make this boss easier. I would say, although this healer check is very large and costs the healer one major cooldown on each use, every healer has the means to deal with it. It just takes good cooldown management and planning. With that being said, I still think that the big winners are Resto Druid and Discipline Priest. Disc Priests have so many big buttons to press, and all of them match up against this mechanic very well, like Boon of the Ascended, Shell, Rapture, so you always have something that you can press for this mechanic. Druids can shrug this mechanic off with either their Trank, as a very easy button, or a fully ramped Flourish, applying all your Hotstone Flourishing can make this a joke, or their 1 minute Convoke, which having that Convoke basically every time he uses this ability is kind of makes it very easy. I really quickly want to give an honorable mention to Executor Tarvald. This boss is kind of hard. You have to be on the move. There's a medium single target damage when the boss focuses one player. And the ad staying alive for a long amount of time can really ramp up the damage. Also, the person that the boss is focusing, not moving out for instantly, can cause big AoE damage, especially in higher keys. Obviously, I guess that's an easy point to make. But for the most part, this boss can be handled pretty easily as long as no one gets hit by the beams. You can stun the ad, you just burn the ad, as long as everyone does what they're supposed to do. So because this is the third hardest boss in my opinion in this dungeon, I'm going to keep it off the list as an honorable mention. Now, I also want to say that this boss used to be the main reason why I stayed away from Sanguine Depths. This boss used to be so annoying, and then once I figured out that you can actually stun the ad, it made this fight just infinitely easier. So, okay. With that being said, let's get into the number 1. So, if you haven't been able to guess it already, my number 1 pick for the hardest boss in Shadowlands Mythic Plus to heal is Grand Proctor Berelia. What edged her out over the other bosses is that she packs a major punch and has some healer unfriendly mechanics on top of that. She does massive single target damage to the tank with iron spikes, where, especially in higher level keys, can one-shot the tank even through their own mitigation, making this also a single target healing check on top of the tank check. She also pops the whole group with Rite of Supremacy, even if the party collects 3 orbs each to mitigate the damage like they're supposed to. Also, one of her mechanics that stands out from the other bosses is the time between the swirlies appearing and doing their damage. It's very quick. This necessary immediate movement, I should say, can cause us not to finish cast during a high damaging part of the fight, making this ability very dangerous and very scary for healers. Ways to make this fight easier. Healers that can heal on the move are especially invaluable because you have to move very quick and, cancel casts unless you're playing a class that can move on the heal. Or, heal on the move, my bad. So the best healers to take would be Monk and Paladin. Monks, and both the melee classes, basically. Monks stand out here with their autopilot healing abilities such as Fallen Order and Revival and even Essence Font, as well as having no trouble with iron spikes due to Soothing Mist being so potent. And then Paladins just do a ton of healing, and their damage mitigation can really help versus this fight. So, and their single target healing can really help the tank stay alive. So that's why they would make this fight easier. So that's it. This is my first top 5 list. That was the top 5 hardest Mythic Plus bosses in Season 9.1.5 and most likely going into 9.2 unless we see some changes. But let me know down below which bosses you would have put on the list, which of these bosses you think is free. And yeah, just give me your top 5. And stay tuned for, I'm going to make a top 5 easiest Mythic Plus bosses to heal. So stay tuned for that. I think there are some very free, like very easy bosses that we can basically not even press a healing button against. So let me know what you think those are going to be down below. Go ahead and hit like and hit subscribe if you aren't subscribed. And I will see you guys in the next video.